Alright, so what's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today I want to talk a little bit about XDefiant because we had an update from Mark Rubin about the launch of the game. Now XDefiant is a game that I'm personally really excited to play. It's basically old Call of Duty and what Call of Duty used to be, but in the modern day, made by somebody else, somebody who actually knows what they're doing with the franchise. But it's a very fun arcade first-person shooter made by Ubisoft, and I think a lot of people, especially people who have played the game, are really excited to see the game come out, and a lot of people are wondering when it's going to be coming out because obviously we don't have any official information on it in terms of a concrete release date. Obviously the past 5 or 6 months we've known that it's going to be an end of summer release, but we're at the end of summer now. It's the middle of September and we don't have the game yet. So we had an update from Mark Rubin the other day. He released a full post. If you guys want to read the post, I'll leave a link down in the description below. It's a very interesting post about the whole process of publishing a game, which I didn't know they had to do. So it's a very interesting read, but he talks about why we haven't had the game yet, why we haven't had a concrete release date. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god, there's so many of them in that corner, Jesus. So the main reason why we haven't had a concrete release date for XDefiant is because it's a new IP, so it's not a sequel to a game, it's a brand new name, so that's why they haven't been able to do that, because it's a lot easier to get through the submission process when it's a sequel, let's say with Call of Duty. But the reason we haven't had the game yet is because they actually failed the first submission process, so the first one, I think, would have got them a mid to late August release if they'd have passed that, but they didn't, which they did anticipate, they say. So they spent the last 3 to 4 weeks basically fixing the game from what failed the submission process, and they're ready to do it again, which is going to take, I think, a couple weeks to come through with the results. They say that if the game passes, they can go for a mid to September release. So obviously we're in the middle of September now and we haven't heard anything, so I imagine it's more than likely that it's going to be an end of September, maybe early October release. And they said if they get a conditional pass, which basically means they can launch the game but they have to do a day 1 patch, then that means their launch will probably be, I think, mid to late October, they said. So realistically the game is going to be coming within the next month or so. They've already failed the submission process once. They've been told why, so they know what to do to fix it. So it's pretty much guaranteed we're going to be getting this game by at least the end of October. But like I say, if they straight up just pass this submission process, then we could be getting it within the next couple of weeks or so. If not, like I say, latest we'll probably get it is late October, which is going to be around about the release of Modern Warfare 3. That's coming out November 10th, so it's going to be a couple of weeks before that. But I think it's a really good idea for them to have this level of transparency, because not only is it just, healthy for a community like us, the Call of Duty community, which has Activision, which are probably as transparent as concrete, but it's also good as well because if they're constantly talking about the game, how close it can be, what they're bringing to the game, it's going to get people talking about the game, like I am today, for example. I think ever since this blog post came out, I think a week or 2 ago, pretty much everybody's been talking about XDefiant again, at least in terms of YouTube channels. I've been seeing loads of videos like my recommended in my sub box talking about XDefiant, the release of it, so it's getting people talking again. I think people are starting to get more excited now. They're actually starting to see more of a concrete release date than we had before. I just hope the excitement for the game hasn't died down by the time it comes out, which I don't think it will, because we've had this update and we're probably going to be getting some kind of official release information, I think, within the next 2 weeks or so, which basically means they can start actually marketing the game properly then. But until then, they can't really market the game if they don't know what's going on with it. They don't know when it's going to be coming out, if it's even ready to come out. But one of the big reasons as well, which I think is a really smart idea, why the beta was so far away from the launch, and like we say Call of Duty, where it's a month before, is they said that the beta isn't just a marketing tool, which it is for Call of Duty. They actually took feedback from that beta and actually applied it to the game, which I think is a very smart thing to do, because that's what betas are for. But I think it raises the question again if XDefiant is actually going to be the Call of Duty killer, and I stand by what I said before. I don't really think anything can kill Call of Duty apart from Call of Duty. Maybe in terms of popularity this year, XDefiant might beat Modern Warfare 3, although I think Modern Warfare 3 is going to be a solid game now. I'm excited for it. I think it is possible that XDefiant just wins in terms of popularity, but I think in terms of sheer numbers, it doesn't come close to Call of Duty. Call of Duty has been building over 20 years now. I mean, Call of Duty has fans that are in their 30s now that were kids when the games are coming out, and it has fans that are kids to this day. So it just reaches across multiple generations, and it has been for literally almost 2 decades now. Whereas XDefiant is literally just coming out now. It's a brand new IP, like I say, and it's hard for a brand new IP to compete with a whole franchise of 20 plus games. I think even by this time next year, let's say XDefiant has more viewers on Twitch than Call of Duty, it doesn't matter because Call of Duty is going to be releasing a new game anyway, and the marketing for the next game is going to be starting. Like, it's just too hard to beat that machine. Like, there's just so many people working on it. It's a yearly release. You can't stop that. Like, there's no way to stop it. I think the only way that Call of Duty can truly die is if it kills itself, like if it commits suicide. And the only way that's going to happen is, let's say, for example, they, just completely focus on Warzone. They stop making multiplayer. They make a 2-year release cycle and the game's shit. Like, really, really bad. But as much as I do enjoy playing Multiplayer 2, imagine if we had this game for 2 years. Like, we didn't have Multiplayer 3 come out. They were just releasing the 16 maps. I don't think it would do well. I think XDefiant would genuinely take over at that point, but that's the only way COD's going to be stopped, is if it commits suicide. But I'll tell you what, it's a good thing that Call of Duty does have some competition now. Like, I think for the past 5 years minimum, there hasn't really been any true, like, competitor to Call of Duty. There's not been a respawn, casual, arcade, easy to access FPS game that's come out that... Maybe there has, but, just hasn't come close to COD in terms of popularity. I think for the first time we've had that with XDefiant. This is a game that genuinely does rival Call of Duty. Maybe not now, but, if this is going to be a multi-year, game, and maybe it goes on, like, Siege for the next 10 years, maybe they release XDefiant 2. I don't really know what the plan is. I mean, if I was to guess, I'd probably say they do a similar thing to Siege, where they're going to release the game and just have a fan base. Instead of, like, Call of Duty, like, trying to appeal to new people over and over and over, like, every year, like, trying to just increase the numbers. I think they're going to release the game, try and pull in as many new people as possible, and they're just going to have a dedicated fan base for the next, like, 5-10 years and just support it, which genuinely can work in XDefiant's favor. I mean, they could release the game, it could not be as popular as it might be, and in 2 years of, like, constant support, people might just start flooding to it, especially if Call of Duty starts to die. Like, if XDefiant can just stay consistent in terms of, like, the quality of stuff they're putting out and just not screwing over the fan base, then I don't see anything but a bright future for the game, man. I genuinely can't wait for it because I think it's a really fun game. The fuck is that guy doing, man? He's just prone in a fucking corner on shipment. For those of you who were around when I made my XDefiant video, when it was the beta, you guys probably know that's the only game of XDefiant I've ever played. And just from that one single game alone, I can say that I genuinely think it could rival Call of Duty. It literally is like Black Ops 2, but just with a modern coat on and some Ubisoft skins. Like, that's literally all it is. It also has the specialists in there as well, which I think, personally, I really like specialists, especially in COD games. Like, I don't think I'd prefer specialists over this, but it sort of brings a new level of fun, I suppose. I know specialists in Call of Duty games is a very, like, touchy subject. People don't really like it, and I think the ones that we had weren't, like, probably my favorites. Like, there were some very overpowered ones, like, say, the Grav Slam and the War Machine. I mean, I haven't had the chance to explore all the ones in XDefiant, but I personally do like the idea of specialists. Like, I just think it adds, like, another level of casual fun to the game, because, it's not as serious, it's not as competitive, and if they want a competitive nature, they can just remove them in the, in some kind of, like, competitive game mode. As if he just spawned there. Oh, fuck off, man. I mean, I know it's shipment, but there's got to be some kind of decent spawns at least. He's lying down there with a fucking shotgun. That's crazy. He's still there! Fucking move, will you? I'm gonna fucking kill this kid. I swear to God. That felt better. I needed that. Okay, there's another one. No.